Hey Samantha. So first of all, just want to say this is an awesome character. Really nice job on getting everything put together. You can tell you put a lot of effort and work into it. You've got some cool presentation going on. It's all textured up. You got your decals, panel lines, all these details of attachment points. So you really went over the top and to the next level trying to get this all put together. So congrats on that. I know it's a tough challenge getting this all figured out. Um, Also, feel free to take this feedback or just take the ideas of this feedback onto your next piece. Um, I find it beneficial at times to just kind of write down everything that you get out of doing the character or while you're working on the character if you want to do something but you don't have time, just to note it so you understand where you can apply on the next round. Um, so I'm going to just take a screenshot of this and move over to Photoshop. So copy this and paste. All right. And the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to pull over, I have the concept art pulled up. So there's a couple of things we can play with here. This character is very sleek and fast from what I can tell. So there's a couple things going on. We got some panel lines. It's very similar to Halo in style. Maybe an Overwatch character. We've got some action shots. So these are all really cool. One thing I'm going to take a look at. So the angles here. They're very aggressive and sleek. So this angle here on the shoulder, I'm going to do a little thing here. So you can go to Liquify under Photoshop to test out some ideas. When you don't want to fully model everything, you can just nudge things around and see how it looks. So if we pull over the concept, this angle right here, we can tone it down just a little bit and play with this angle. And it actually looks like this is a sharp angle right here. So I'm going to just nudge this up a little bit. Right. Let's push this in. This is also pulling up, so you got some muscle tone in here, so I'm just going to nudge that up. Beef up the bicep maybe. Get a little bit of room in there. And I'm also pull the arms down a little bit. I think you're using the default ZBrush body. Um, it has some weird proportion stuff, so I like to use scan data if possible for the base of a character, just because it's a little more based in reality, and you can focus more on your sculpting and all that stuff. So I'm using the brackets to move my brush up and down. I have this one right here, so nudge. And then you can hit P to go back and forth and see what your changes look like. Other things we can tweak. So this area right here, I'm going to nudge this in, pull the hips in, just get this a little more sleek. And then the knees I'm going to pull up, something like that. Just adjusting these proportions a little bit. Okay, and then we also have all these curving shapes, right? So this super straight angle stands out to me. Here in the concept, you can see it's bumping out and playing with the silhouette a little bit. So I'm going to nudge this as well, just ever so slightly to get this a little more dynamic. Okay, I'm gonna pull this around too. I'm not going to do as much work on this side, but maybe just a nudge to be helpful. So other areas, just tucking the if you look at muscles, it's very similar to this. I'm just pulling on those shapes and over exaggerating. Um, yeah, something like that. From the side view, so let's toggle back and forth there so you can see. From the side view, we can push this around a little bit too, so just pulling in right here where the knee bends. We pull this side out where the armor is popping, right? And then get a little more curve in there. This goes all the way up to the top of the hip. So we can pull this up. Same thing with the knees. Pull that up, out. This knee armor looks a little bit small, so I'm going to make that a little bigger. And then push the hips forward a little bit. Okay, so we have a little bit of changes here, nothing too major, but just giving you some ideas and a way to approach making some changes. Feedback on the back, there's a little bit more muscle tone on the concept. It's a little sleeker, so maybe we could pinch this up a little. Use pucker tool, pull these knees in, and then I'm gonna do the opposite on the butt. Pull this out. I'm just looking at these proportions. So you have everything here. It's really just making those 5% adjustments over and over and over until they stack on each other. So I like this. It's almost egg shape he has on the calf. It's really cool. One other thing I like to do while I'm working on characters is I like to pull up reference from other games that are similar in style, or go on Pinterest, find like Gundam models or stuff like that, and that can be really helpful too. All right, so here's what we got. So just make these this toggle. Okay, so you take this and save it, put on your PureRef file, and then when you open up ZBrush, you can start remembering, oh yeah, I want to do this, or make notes. All right, so let me pull over ZBrush here. I'm going to show you really quick some ways maybe you could approach adding some of these details back in. Okay, so I'm going to go over here. I have the just a base mesh. Okay. Oh, and one last thing I was going to mention on your model here. So I would love to see a little bit of wear and roughness breakup. So let me see if I can find you an example. Okay. Really like this this set of armor that Weebong did. I think this has some callouts. I could be wrong if maybe he didn't. Yeah. Okay. We'll see if this comes through. So here, there's a little bit of like metal scratching on this edge here. I'm gonna pull up Overwatch. This is an easier visual example. So right here you see it. So there's these little patterns that you can do with the roughness with barely any change to the albedo, and they could be really interesting. Just as an idea of something you could apply to the cloth here. or even on some pieces of armor or textile, rubber. Let me see if I can have another example. All right, this might. Just want the image. Okay, here we go. Open image. Okay, yeah, so you see it on a collar right here. These are small details. It's the 5% details that can really sell things. And one other thing, so if you look at a lot of Overwatch characters or even Halo, everything has a trim. So here there's a trim. Anything that interfaces with organic objects as well needs a trim or some padding. So anything metal, if you touch it on something fleshy, it's gonna bruise it, right? You take an apple and you drop it, it's gonna bruise it. So we would need to put just a little bit of some padding around it to protect it. It's also visually just it helps separate and group things and organize these shapes so they're easy to read. So here you can see there's this shape here, juts in and out. I'm gonna do snipping tool so you can see what I'm circling here. So we got this shape here, right? Comes up, down, around. But he's modeled this trim around it several times. In here, same thing. Trim around this piece. There's lots of things that have trim. This one doesn't right here. It's not visible at least, but maybe there's a hint back there. And then this is also interesting. So there's a jut. So this exterior element slightly differs from the interior element. So we can circle this for you. So we come in here, and so we got this variation. Instead of just extruding everything out, he's changed it here. Use these attachment points. This is a very interesting way of interlocking things. Then see if there's anything else I want to call out here. Yeah, functionality is really cool. So this is described in a way that it looks to your brain. You just look at that and you're like, yeah, that probably works, right? There's the textile I was talking about. So little details of rubbers. You can do this with a height map in Substance Painter. And just use a mask. Used a couple different variations of this. So you've got some sort of like rubber nylon looking thing, and then you got sci-fi hexagons. Break this all up. Cool. So let me pull over to ZBrush and I'll give you a quick demo on how I might adjust some of these things. So you got some big shapes. It looks like you're doing a lot of modeling in Maya, which is totally fine. But at this point, if you wanted to make changes, the fastest way is probably going to be ZBrush. So for this piece here, I'm just going to extract a chunk off of the arm. So extract this. And then inside, I'm going to delete this. We don't need it. All right, so now we got a piece on the arm. Okay. So I'm going to Dynamesh this. Go higher. Smooth it out. All right, so for the trim, there's two ways you can go about doing this. So if I zoom in on this, you're going to see there's polygroups, right? I hit Shift F. I can polish these by groups. They're smooth around the edges. So I can grab this and use it as a selection mask. So I'm going to hit Control, mask that, and then I can invert this, and I can grow it. If you hit 1 on your keyboard after doing an action in ZBrush, it'll repeat it. Tighten this up by holding Control and Alt. And then now I can use this to inflate or do whatever I want. If I hold Control and Alt and grab this yellow circle on the gizmo, it'll move by normal. So it's sending it in just a nudge. I can expand this again. Invert, sharpen, and I could do that same nudge. So just expand out. So now I have trim along this poly group. So if you have really awkward shapes like this, you could use that as a quick method to just move things in and out. You could also mask an area, so like I could just do this, you know. Again, nudge that out. You gotta be careful because it's gonna shoot through the mesh, but that's fine. Another way you could add these border details is using the Chisel Brush. So chisel this one. I could just go through here and I'll pull it out. Maybe not that intense. And try some of these different shapes. There we go, that one's kind of interesting, so maybe could run this through something. You can also use these very big and get some of these details. And then now, so we have a problem here. So the mesh that we're trying to pull out, maybe we want to smooth this so you can use age polish and hold down Alt and just polish that up, go over it. And then, so I'm having trouble seeing what I'm doing, so I can switch this from like matte cap gray to metal and have a better idea of exactly what I'm doing over here. Just do metal. So now I can see all these surface normals and details. Just running on top of this edge. You can use clay buildup. I reduce my intensity on this. Just buff it out. One other thing you can use, you might find this useful, so under Lightbox, you click Lightbox here, you go to Tool, or Brush, I mean, and there are different brushes you can use already built into ZBrush. So we could do Smooth Stronger. If we go over Smooth right here, we go down here, there's Smooth Stronger. So it's going to tell us, do you want to apply this to your new brush? And we're going to say yes. So now we can just go here, and I'm being careful to, you see the edge of my brush here? I'm not pushing all the way over because it's going to crush all my details. So I'm trying to sharpen up and smooth this area over here only. And then I can use a smaller brush and use this to do the same thing down here. And you see you get this seam running along it. Okay. All right. So one method you can use. Some other things you can try for some of these other details. Let's it looks like you're modeling in some of this or using alphas. You can use ZBrush to do this in some ways. So you just change alpha here and you can drop something in. So I could do like a layer brush and then grab an alpha that I like and then drag dot. I can just put it wherever I want it. So maybe on the edge here I want something. Yeah. Anyhow, other things we could do with this, we could add I'm gonna do dots. You can hold down shift to draw lines. Just do that. Right, get a line. You could mask an area and blur it, so blur it one direction. And then when you move this, you can put your gizmo on it and move your gizmo so wherever I start to where I end, it's going to line up. And then I can use this to rotate. I have to mask the opposite end. So I could rotate this out or in, move it. I can sharpen this up, do something else, maybe expand it or subtract it. Right, stack details. In Dynamesh, you could layer a dot inside of there or some sort of detail. Another thing you can do, there's all sorts of kit bash parts in ZBrush. So you can grab, I think IMM Sci-Fi, or there's a couple of them. There's individual parts. You can grab one of these and see if there's parts in here that you need. So maybe I grab this one, rotate it, place it. And then you could Dynamesh this in if that's what you're going for. If you need to add a bevel to something, one way you can do it is you can smooth. The other way, there's two smoothing modes. I'll cover this real quick. There's smooth stronger. It's just smooth, but more intense. There's also, if you let go of smooth, there's a alternative mode that relaxes. So if I go onto an edge here, you can kind of see how it starts inflating it versus crushing it. So I use that sometimes to get a bevel and reduce the intensity here. You can see the detail it gives right there. So the highlight on the edge right here is a little wider, right? The other thing you can do is you can do inflate at a low intensity. So do like 1. You see there almost is a bevel, so I'm going to subdivide this real quick. So different methods to do similar things. Yeah, and then as far as cloth goes, so you got some panel lines here. This might have a layer or something going on. All right, so if I want to add a stitch, there's different ways you can do that too. So you could do like just standard brush sometimes is good to use, you know, something like this. Maybe go in with slash on one side and highlight one edge. So this thing I was talking about, trim, so keep the trim going. You can add fasten points, right? Use damn standard to mark out pads. This is a little aura, so I'm going to subdivide once. Another method you could use is use a different alpha as an option. Maybe something like that. Or you could do under under here. So we look at different brushes. There is one for seams and stitches. I don't know if there's exactly what we're looking for here. I'm just looking through these to see. Try this one. No. So I just do this one and show you what it does. So I suppose depending on what you're doing, this might be what you're looking for if you're just trying to get some stitches. And then on the side of this, we could do the stretch marks from cloth. So I'm just holding down Alt and switching these, and then I can smooth this inserted inside a part here. And then you get that stretching that looks pretty cool. Go back to layer, I'm just going to add a couple fasten points here. I'm going to sharpen this up just a little bit in here. Alright, so you get cloth details that way. You can also mask an area and use Noisemaker, so I could mask this out. Sharpen it up. I'm going to remove this back mask. And then I go over here to noise. Or surface, I mean. Click noise. Then you can zoom in so we can get random noise doing this, right? Maybe that's not what we're looking for. So click noise plugin. Let's do hex. So we're going to reduce the scale of this. Intensity up. So you see, and then reduce the noise. You can adjust some of these settings so you could do more thickness on the motor. So maybe 1. We could also do different scale. So I could reduce this to like 0.05. Okay. And now that we have this, you can also do mask by noise. So instead of just applying it to it, you can use that to generate a mask. I'm just gonna pull this out. There we go. We got a little noise. I also subdivided while I was doing this. So if you have an area masked and you hit Control D, it will add a subdivision level. You can see it added that along there. So you can see how that looks. Just a little hint of detail in there. think that's everything. Or gives you some stuff to work on or think about. I guess one other thing you could try when we did extract here. I use Clip Brush a fair bit, so like something like this, you can just do this. So I'm gonna extract this. So you could do a little bit of thickness just to get off the surface. So you do like 0.1. Okay, and we're gonna look at this. I'm gonna move this other side because I only need one. And then if we look at this here, we got different polygroups. I'm gonna grab this top polygroup, delete the rest, zero mesh this. I'm gonna reduce the adaptive and curve size. You could even do detect edges, zero mesh that, see what result we get, maybe half that. And then we can do that alt smoothing, so we're just relaxing, and mask some of these edges, do clip curve. And snap these edges up. So grab these, snap. Maybe apply a symmetry modifier with local symmetry. Again, smooth out that middle. So you get something like this. I would like this top trim to be a little bit cleaner. So grab that. I can use my clip curve and just run along this edge here. Do one more mirror and weld. Okay, now that we have this, so I can relax this as much as I want. I could zero mesh it again. So you do half, something like that. Sure. And then I can do dynamic and get this result, right? So it's smoothing it out. I can give it some thickness. It's looking good. So you'd even just do it with no subdivision levels, and then you could model on this. So you could use the modeler. So I could Q-mesh a couple of these areas. Just extrude it in and out. Could save that for after as well. So hit apply. Maybe grab this edge here. We could extrude it out, or we could grab this poly group and mask it, move it, play with it, do whatever we want. And again, snap using verts. You can take this over to Maya and do what you were doing before. We can also use Crease Sets. So now that we have basic geometry, maybe we modeled some areas, or split a vert. You can crease. So I'm gonna do crease polygroup, maybe crease by angle. And that should get most of these other edges. When you hit dynamic, it's gonna do what you did before. So I'm just gonna turn off thickness now, and turn up my smooth. So do something like 4. And then under crease, you can see different crease levels. So this is the point that it's going to start using the creases. So if I go up 1, you're going to see it's sharpen these edges a little bit. So you do 2. And then from a distance, you should be able to start reading some of these. So we're getting some creasing on the inside of these. So you could go in and remove the crease on those, or manually adjust. Because this is going to bake with normals, I might want to scale these in a little bit. So I could do scale poly group or island or something. I could grab them individually and scale them. There's a bunch of ways you could do this. I'm just being kind of lazy about it, but yeah, do something like that. And now we get these curves. I'm gonna do 35 on this actually, so I'm gonna do uncrease, uncrease all, crease. It should grab. No, I'm getting sharper, so maybe we want to do 45, 50. That's better. Do crease partial. Play with different effects here, so this isn't creased, but I could extrude this out or in. I could remove this inner edge loop. You know, do all sorts of different shapes. I really recommend Aremus 3D. His YouTube channel has a lot of 3ds Max videos and just plain old modeling videos. It should give you some ideas. So I'm gonna remove this edge loop here. And then that's gonna give me just this little trim thing, little hook. Could do mirror and weld. I'm getting a seam out of that, but that's fine. You get the idea. And then yeah, so we don't have a trim on this, so maybe we want to add a trim. So you could extrude this outer edge loop, or you could trying to think here. We could do poly loop. It's poly loop. Poly loop. Sorry, I'm not seeing it. Where is it? Poly loop. Polygroup works too. There we go. Poly loop, polygroup. So we could do something like that. Maybe you want to insert a edge loop first. And then you get a result like that. And then we could do what I said before. And you can grab a couple of these and extrude that out. Or extrude something in. So I need to do Q mesh. Right? To remove this seam here, quick way of doing that is I can just mask this center edge loop and move it past that border. So when it applies symmetry, it's just going to merge it. I'm going to stitch these up. So collapse edge loop, or collapse edge. All right. I'm going to see if I can mask these and then apply a crease. Maybe not. That's okay. I'm not going to worry about it. Anyhow, yeah, just give you some ideas. Remember, you can still use clip curve in this mode, so I could snap this over. I could move along edge loops, could slide things. And because it's ZBrush, we can also use standard modeling, right? So after dynamic, you can hit apply on this and use your layer brush, sculpt on it, right? There you go. Oh, and we still have all these polygroups, so we can also use these as moving edge loop sort of masks or whatever, you know. Move these out, maybe. Make a little armor. And we can change the mirror direction, go X. All right. There you go. There's a quick little demo. Went a little longer than I was expecting, but that's okay. So I really hope that helps. Shoot me any questions if you have any on this. I hope you don't mind me uploading this onto YouTube just so it's easier to access. Yeah, I think that's everything. I'm gonna add a little inflate just to, yeah. All right. Have a good one. Good luck with everything, and yeah, keep up the good work. It's looking great.